Thank you very much, Chairman. I'd also like to thank the IDOF for inviting me to give this presentation. My interest in the safety of intense sweeteners started in 1967. And looking around the room, I don't think there's a single lady in the audience who was born before that date. So it's a very youthful audience, and you've got a very old speaker in front of you. There are a number of intense sweeteners available for use in food. The oldest one is saccharin, and there are these group here which are sulfamic acid derivatives, sulfonamides and sulfamic acid derivatives, peptide type sweeteners such as aspartame and neotame, the new one. And then at the other side here we've got two newer ones, sucralose, which is a derivative of a carbohydrate, and stevioside and riboside A. Hazard characterization is, what can it do? What are its biological properties in the mammalian body? Hazard characterization, or hazard identification is what can it do. Hazard characterization is what is the dose-response relationship and what would be the safe dose for humans. Intake assessment, how much do we actually take in? And then risk characterization, what is the risk associated with that intake? Now, you're all scientists, so you all believe in dose-response relationships, and it really is central to establishing the safety of any chemical, whether it's an approved food additive, a contaminant, a mycotoxin, a pesticide residue. Dose response is absolutely crucial. In summary, that EFSA panel concluded, on the basis of all the evidence currently available, there's no need to revise the previously established ADI of 40 milligrams per kilogram. So my conclusions on the safety of intense sweeteners and including aspartame is that they're amongst the most intensively and extensively studied components in our diet. And the use of high doses in vitro and in animal studies in which the dose is escalated until some hazard is identified ensures that we know what these chemicals are capable of doing in mammalian body. But of course it's that hazard which gives the media the stories because, for example, you'll see stories that saccharin produces bladder cancer. It does in male rats, given 5 or 7.5% of their diet throughout life, by a mechanism that's not relevant to humans. There's been a lot of work looking at the mechanism. It just does not happen in humans. So that the hazard identification is often the source of the story rather than the realistic risk, which is what is the likelihood of that hazard being expressed at human exposures. Thank you very much.
Professor Adam Drunowski, who is the director of the Center for Public Health Nutrition in the University of Washington and the director also of the Center for Obesity Research, Professor of Epidemiology. Very extensive record again in this kind of field.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My presentation on the role of low-calorie sweetness in the management of body weight and diabetes will be more focused on behavior. And I want to begin by posing a series of questions which will be answered in the course of this presentation. So the first and probably the most important question is, can low-calorie sweeteners reduce energy intake in a measurable, significant, clinically significant way? Then what is the window of opportunity? Which foods or which beverages are we talking about really? Do low-calorie sweeteners affect appetite or satiety? There have been whispers and rumors that low-calorie sweeteners, far from promoting weight loss, actually make you want to eat more. Then the next question, who are the main consumers of low-calorie sweeteners? Are they young, old, fat, thin? What is the quality of their diets? And then, rounding off, how can low-calorie sweeteners contribute to managing body weight and diabetes? So the first question is, what is the window of opportunity? Low-calorie sweeteners provide sweetness without calories. They substitute, essentially, for caloric sugar. where does the sugar in our diet come from? I will take as an example here American diet, which is richer in sugar than most. Compared to the United States, some countries, like France, consume very little sugar. In the United States, sugar comes from all over the place. This is an analysis of food sources of various calories conducted by a government agency, the National Cancer Institute. And here you see that soda and sports and energy drinks contribute 5% of total daily calories. Other calories come from desserts and dairy desserts and candy and a whole lot of other foods. But let's just focus on soda and beverages, which have been implicated in causing obesity and promoting diabetes. So then the next question. Can low-calorie sweeteners make you hungry? By drinking a diet soft drink, do you create an appetite that wasn't there before, and do you then overeat? Again, the simple answer is no. But things are rarely simple, because to arrive at the simple answer, no, we had to run a whole lot of fairly complex experimental studies in the laboratory. Normally, we use what's called the preload study design or the preload paradigm. Our subjects come into the laboratory, usually at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, and are given a liquid, a solid, a yogurt, a snack. That can be part of a meal, and we measure what else would they eat at this occasion. In that case, in this design, you're measuring what's called satiation, amount consumed at that meal. We normally look at satiety. Satiety is what happens at the next meal. So in our typical design, our subjects come in, consume a breakfast, which could be a sandwich, a snack, a soda, or a diet soda. Then we wait for a period of a few hours, from half an hour to 2 hours, and then we give them lunch. And then we measure both their hunger and satiety during the intervening period, and then we measure also what they ate at lunch. Sometimes you can continue those studies into snack and dinner and even to the next day. But then the data quality are not as good. The European Food Safety Authority really changed its rules and now wants studies to be conducted until the end of the day. Bad news for us experimenters, because we like to finish our study at lunch and everyone goes home. So now we're going to be at the lab in the afternoon and in the evening and perhaps until midnight just to satisfy the European Food Safety Authority, but you know it has to be done. So what we do is to give our subjects preload and then lunch. So one of the studies we conducted some time ago had to do with 4 preloads, and we used not a yogurt, but a French-type white cheese, fromage blanc, which people very often eat for breakfast, either sweetened or sometimes salted. So we had the fromage blanc either containing sugar, it's our preload A, or containing carbohydrate, maltodextrin, but no sugar, sweetened with aspartame, or containing water to give it the same volume and aspartame, or nothing at all, just slight addition of salt and perhaps pepper. So we had 2 preloads, sets of preloads, 700 calories versus 300, sweetened with aspartame or not. So pay attention to what happens to preloads C and D, because here we have a plain one and one sweetened with aspartame. And then we give people this lunch. See the trays, each lunch is the same, and each person consumes the same lunch on every occasion. Everyone had to come to the lab 4 times. This is a classic within-subject design where people serve as their own controls. So, as I said, pay attention to temporal profiles of hunger and satiety ratings. and pay attention to the difference between the plain fromage blanc, unsweetened, and the one that was sweetened with aspartame. And what is the difference? There is no difference. They were exactly the same, which means sweetening a plain yogurt with aspartame does not cause you to be more hungry, does not promote appetite, does not promote satiety. In a word, nothing happens. The only thing that mattered was the difference between 300 calories and 700 calories. And people who consumed 700 calories at breakfast were, of course, less hungry and had less of a desire to eat. And these are the curves in yellow and red. But be it as it may, they still ate the same amount at lunch. We had men, we had women. Consumption at lunch was approximately the same for everybody. But again, notice the green and the blue, the plain and the aspartame sweetened. There is absolutely no difference. The addition of aspirin to a plain stimulus did not do anything. So this is equivalent to a difference between, say, plain water and a soda sweetened with a low-calorie sweetener. And this is Kara Ebeling and David Ludwig's study. Was very nice because they had resources to actually continue the study for 25 weeks. And as long as you run those studies for 25 weeks, it may well turn out that low-calorie sweeteners, given as part of a sensible diet, do contribute to managing body weight and diabetes. So this is what the science tells us, and I wish there were more science, especially on longer-term studies, and those are very often difficult to run. We have been doing those studies for quite a while, and this is a picture of myself, Janine Louis Sylvestre, and Franz Belil, showing that this issue of low-calorie sweeteners has been with us for a very long time, and we all looked younger then. Thank you.
I'd like to thank very much our distinguished speakers.
Thank you.
And thank you as well for attending this session, and I hope a safe journey back home.